Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Vick. I am the attorney at Vick Law. And today I want to discuss with you what is a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. And to do so, I want to provide some slides to help you out and to understand this important topic. I believe once you know a little bit more about the Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, you will see some great advantages to doing a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust as a part of your estate planning. And to set the context of this topic of a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, I want to put some statistics before you regarding how likely it is that a person will need long-term care. If an individual is 65 years or over, there's a 70% chance that he or she will need some sort of long-term care planning in his or her remaining years. On average, women need long-term care longer than men do because women live longer. Women need long-term care for about 3.7 years, and men on average need it for 2.2 years. And 33% of today's 65-year-olds may never need long-term care. But if you do need long-term care, 20% of those people will need it longer for 5 years. So the takeaway from that is that if you need long-term care, there's a very good chance that you'll need it for an extended period of time. Why plan for long-term care? It's because the reason is it's expensive. For a home health aide, it can be $53,000 annually. For a semi-private room in a nursing home, it can be $80,000 or more. And so it's expensive, and so some thought needs to be put into long-term care planning. And the cost is rising. You see the numbers here that a semi-private room will cost $108,000 in about 10 years. And so the cost is rising. There's a need to think about long-term care planning. And then besides just the financial side, there are some personal reasons why one might do some long-term care planning. First of all, to retain control, to determine who's going to make the decisions, control how your property is going to be used while you're living, to protect the spouse, to make sure that the healthy spouse is provided for, and also to preserve inheritance for your children or your grandchildren. Those are reasons why you might plan for long-term care. So the actual topic today is about the Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. And to really understand the context of a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, we need to know a little bit about Medicaid rules. When will Medicaid begin paying for a nursing home or to provide services within the home for somebody that needs long-term care? Well, in order for that to happen, a person needs to pass the resource test. And for a single person, that's just $2,000, so not very much money at all. For a married couple, it can be it's $3,000 unless there's a community spouse involved. But generally speaking, it's $2,000 for single, $3,000 for a married couple. And so if you have more assets than that, then you are considered rich by Medicaid, and you will be required to spend your assets on your care. The Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is there to bring down an individual's assets in such a way that we pass that resource test for Medicaid purposes without losing all of our control of our assets. And so just generally speaking, what is a trust? A trust is a fiduciary relationship in which one person agrees to hold property of another person for a beneficiary. The property that's placed into the trust is called the principal, or the trust corpus, or the trust property. And Medicaid is really concerned about who has control over the property in the trust and who has access to the property in the trust. And also the income that comes from the trust. And so that's really what we're planning for. Medicaid, we want a trust that provides us the most control and access without violating those resource rules to be eligible for Medicaid. There's some comparison between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust that needs to be done here. A lot of people have revocable trusts that provide an individual with access to all the income and all the principal from the trust. It's really just a device to avoid probate in many instances, which is a great way of doing estate planning, depending upon what the client's purposes are. But if a person gets sick and needs long-term care, Medicaid is not going to pay for the care as long as there's more than $2,000 or $3,000 in the revocable trust. It's not a long-term care planning trust. It's not a way to avoid to bring down our assets to pass the resource test of $2,000 or $3,000. An irrevocable trust, a pure irrevocable trust, is not a great idea either to do Medicaid planning. There, the trustee's in charge of everything. The person who set up the trust is not in charge of it. The creator of the trust has no legal control over it. It does provide, it does bring down your resources, but it has very, very bad tax ramifications. You don't preserve your step up in basis, so that whenever the creator of the trust passes away, you don't receive stepped up basis to prevent the gain on the sale of the house. And so that's not recommended. What is recommended is a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. In a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, you are able to limit your control, but not total control. You still have the ability to determine who the trustee is and to name different beneficiaries. You'll retain a limited power of appointment that allows you to change the beneficiaries under the trust. And often you're going to have a child as the trustee of the Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. And the client is going to have leverage over that child, so that if for some reason there is a falling out between the creator of the trust and the child who's the trustee, the creator of the trust will be able to change who the trustee is and also change who the beneficiaries are. And so you really have leverage. You have control because you control who the trustee is. There are a lot of benefits to having a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. First of all, it initiates the 5-year look-back period, so that once assets are in the trust for more than 5 years, you go to apply for Medicaid, everything that is in the trust will be protected. And then also, like I just mentioned, you retain control over the trustee and the beneficiaries. And there's a plan in place to return assets if Medicaid is necessary. So if we don't make it the 5 years, we have a plan in place so that we can get those assets into the beneficiaries' names, and then from the beneficiaries' names, we can transfer it back to the creator of the trust. And by doing so, we're able to um, do other Medicaid planning to make um, to make sure that we save as much as possible as far as Medicaid eligibility is concerned. And then also, I failed to mention that you have Stepup and basis, so that everything that is in the trust, when the creator of the trust passes away, that's going to receive Stepup and basis. There won't be any taxes that are owed upon the sale of, for instance, the real estate that is in the trust. And so the Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, it allows you to start that 5-year look back period and then still have a plan in place to return assets if Medicaid is necessary. But the hope is that we do planning early enough that we make it the 5 years, and then everything that's in the trust is protected. I hope this has been helpful to you. I wanted to make mention here that we offer consultations, which after we gather information from the client, you can receive a detailed written evaluation about your case, and you'll be able to know exactly what you can do to protect your assets should a long-term care event happen to you. So feel free to reach out. You can email me, you can give us a call, go to the website, and you'll find a way to schedule your consultation.